May I ask Mr. Gomin Dayasiri to make his presentation. He's given 15 minutes, but we can have a liberal interpretation. You can always cut into the last 15 minutes that is allotted to me. Gomin.
After a very exciting first session and a heavy lunch, I'm sure it's like being called upon to do a blitzkrieg during a siesta time. Of course, I'm sure if Sir John was here, he would have said it much more spicily. Well, gentlemen, we are now constitutionally positioned at a magic moment. I say magic moment because this is an opportunity and an occasion that will never arise in the history of this country if the present parliamentary election system prevails. Because it is impossible to get a two-third majority. Two-third majorities were possible under the single constituency. You may remember we first had it in 1956 when S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike swept the courts. Thereafter, it happened when Mrs. Bandaranaike got a near two-third majority in 1970 and 77. Chair Jayawardena virtually wiped out the opposition. But that, remember, was when there was a single constituency. But under proportionate representation, that is not possible unless you cheat. And we have been cheated once when general elections were not held. Instead, some device called the referendum, which is also called some Kalagedi Sellam or something, was held. And a result obtained. Why? Why was that result, why was that device obtained? Because the then government felt it is absolutely essential to hold a two-third majority. So what happened, if you ask me, is that the people were deprived of an election. And remember what happened. If that election was ever held, Prabhakaran would have been the MP for Valvature, and Rohana Vijayveera would have been an MP from the southern province in Tamils. There probably would have been no insurrection. Those gentlemen also would have gone to Parliament, would have learned about parliamentary debate, would have travelled extensively, would have enjoyed perks and perquisites, and the life would have gone on. But it didn't. But thanks to the forces, I pay tribute to you. Under the leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the military, which I always think was as good as ever, I don't think the military at any stage was any different, but there was a difference. You are given motivation, you are given leadership, you are given the ultimate, do it. You will be provided with infrastructural facilities, you will not be told, stop the operations, go ahead. And that succeeded. And what you gentlemen would have done 20, 30 years ago was done, and finally the people respected that leadership, respected you equally, and gave the government a two-third majority. Never do I think again will they get it. So we are now all the time blaming a dead man, that he brought in a weird constitution that has been the ill of many of Sri Lanka's problems. So now we have the moment when we can cure it. Because the people, remember, gave a near two-third majority. And the government very smartly and craftily made it two-thirds, which was well within the constitutional framework to do what is good for the country. So now we are at what I would say, take it or leave it moment, for the better or for the worse. If in that situation, what is it that we should change? Many, many things. But if I go on to dwell, I will need another hour or two. So I will restrict myself to two areas which is controversial and deal with them very, I say, in a nutshell form. Firstly, what is the prime requirement? We have gone through terrorism for 30 years. We cannot, this generation, thanks to you, we were always proud of our past. We used to talk of our 2,500 years of glory. But now remember, we are proud of the present. And we who have undergone this hardship, a generation, cannot bequeath it to another. So what is important is that we must ensure that the sovereignty of the state exists without any interference. There is no more possibility of terrorism or succession. Now, in the Constitution, which we have had from 1977, there are two aspects that have been troubling. One is the police powers, other is land. Make no mistake, though those powers have not been actually in practice delegated to the provincial councils, it is there in the Constitution in a very grey area. Now, grey areas are very dangerous elements. Now, I know of grey areas because grey areas are such that judicial decisions can turn it black or white. We have had chief justices in this country, same chief justice at times, who has given excellent decisions where I appeared, I was the counsel, demerging the north and east. Excellent. All credit to the gentleman. At the same time, removing, refusing, wanting security barriers on the road, removed. Both I say may not be right, wrong, may not be right. But judicial decisions are such that someday it is always possible, certainly not under this government, but a court of law, by what is called judicial interpretation, can always put it into the bundle of the provisions that a provincial council is entitled. Now that is a very dangerous thing because we have had the experience. Remember when that good old North and East was together, when there was a Northeastern Provincial Council and there was a chief minister by the name of Varatharaja Perumal, what did he do? He declared a state of Elam, what is called a unilateral declaration of independence, and said that these countries, we have severed, that is a state. So that it is always possible for such a situation to arise, also possible by constitutional interpretation of a judgment, that such powers to be put into with the provincial council list. Now, what is the real danger of these? We say like a mantram, police powers, land powers. They are dangerous. Many, many dangers are, but with time restrictions, I will just use one. You know that a terrorist organization or a conspiracy does not happen overnight. It starts in a very small way. Robberies, discussions at homes, clandestine meetings, a few attempts to smuggle arms. Those are not matters that come within the powers of the military. Those are matters that come within the police powers. So that the early traces of any kind of terrorist movement can be discovered only by the exercise and vigilance of police powers. Now, if these police powers are in the hands of the chief minister, what happens? As you know what Sri Lankan politics is about? The chief police, the local police chief, will no doubt be carrying out the dictates of the provincial council chairman. And he, if he is like Varataraja Perumal, or like the TNA when it was before the elections, they would only assist in creating a situation where terrorism can develop. That's one end of the stick. The other end, I'll take it from India, which who imported this. You know what happened at Mumbai? The first attack on the Taj Mahal Hotel. How long did the central forces take to come to the Mumbai Hotel to avert? Because they had to go through so much of red tape. The entire thing was in the control of the police. The Bombay police, the Mumbai police, not the first attack, the second attack. They are ineffective. So that matters relating to security. Remember, police is part of security. Those are not subjects that can be alienated by a constitution that Jaya Jayawardena picked up from India, for which India is still paying penance for it. Why should we take it? So that police powers, in a very, which I have handled only very, very minor aspect of it, because I have no time to expand, is one thing we have to be careful. The second is land powers. Now, for example, why we won the war was because we were able to establish in key pivotal areas what are called high security zones. It is possible for the military to go, move into an area and take over and establish themselves. But for that they must have the land to occupy. You can't set up high security zones if the central government doesn't have the land, if it's in the hand of the provincial council administration, which is favorable maybe for the terrorists.